So this is how the apps interface would look like. This is the login page from where you would be logging into your application. So we would start with putting in our credential, which is your name and password. So I'm going to just key in my username and password. Okay, and then here you would get an option to select the organization that you want to log into, which means that you might have multiple branches. So depending on which whether you are logging into your head office or any branch office, so you select the organization here, and then you simply log in into the application. Now here, since I've used the super user or the admin user ID and password, I am able to see all the available options of the app right in front of me. However, there is an administrative setup option which is available here. So the admin would decide which user should be given access to which part of the application. So the user would only be seeing the feature or the functionalities which are meant for that particular user whom the administrative would have given to him. So as you can see on the home screen, where I'm moving my cursor at the bottom of the screen, there are alerts and messages. So basically here you can broadcast all the important messages that you would like to throw to your people in the organization. Now this could be a global broadcast, which means everybody in the organization gets to see the message. Or even if you want to target an individual audience, or you want to send some individual alerts or messages, that is also possible. So when I come to the administrative setup page, I will show you how that is done. So this is where all important alerts would be broadcasted. Now let's start with the first option available in the app, which is visitor management. So as soon as I go to the visitor management page, now who are the custodian of this particular session of the app? So this would be available either at the reception or at the entry gate, depending on organization to organization. So here at the home page, you will be able to see some of the important tickers which are configured. That gives you, quick info about the number of visitors that are there today, number of visitors who came last week and last month, and currently how many visitors are still inside the premises. So as you can see, there were 4 visitors today. 3 of them are still in premise, which means one of the visitor has left the premises. So if you quickly click on this ticker, you have a quick access and you can see, who are the visitors who are still in the premises or who had visited today. Now, when I go back, let me show you how do we go about the whole process of registering a visitor who is visiting your premises. Now, this is the page where you would be taking all the details of the visitor. So all you got to do is simply press on the add button and you start capturing the information. Now, all these fields which is marked in red are fields that are mandatory. So you have to capture this information for sure. And rest, the fields which does not have a red mark indicated, means these are optional, information which you can either choose to capture or you can omit. So the first thing that I would do is, I'll ask for the mobile number. I'll tell you the reason why I'm doing that. Okay. Now, when the visitor is coming for the first time, of course, you will have to ask the visitor to fill all these details, which are now, this is where the visitor would be himself be keying in these information. So when I say gate entry, if you look at a person, like a guard at the gate, you might feel that he might not be that educated to, capture these information. Well, they don't have to do it. You can ask the visitor to very well key in these information. And once the detail of the visitor is captured, now for all the subsequent visits that you would do in future to your office, like for example, I keyed in my mobile number, and the moment I press enter, see, I had visited, I'm taking a scenario where I have already visited this office previously. So my information is already available in the database. So by just keying in my mobile number, the rest of the information are auto populated onto the form. So thereby you don't have to time and again ask the visitor to key in these information. So it's a one-time exercise. Of course, there are certain fields that needs to be recaptured. Which are they? Like for example, now in the first instance, when the visitor came, he chose to only fill the mandatory fields. Some of the other optional fields were left out. So suppose if he would have not given the email address, this time around you can prompt to prompt the visitor to fill in the email address, telling that so our database shows that you have visited us previously, but however we don't have your email address. Would you be okay to give us your email address? So you can just take that also. Okay. However, the data will be populated by just putting in the mobile number, but of course some of the information like whom is he intending to meet during this particular visit, so that could change. Last time he was there to meet an X person, this time he would be here to meet somebody else. So you could ask, whom are you here to meet? So this information you can ask the person to key in, and his purpose of visit could also change time to time. So we have a drop down list, so you can select any of these, like whether he's there for interview, meeting, for any personal reason, or any other information. If you want other than this drop down list, you can very well capture that. So I'm going to just select that he's here to meet Umesh for a meeting. Now this is becoming more and more mandatory these days to have a ID proof taken from the visitor. So you can ask for either the national ID, passport, driver's license, voter ID, or any other ID proofs that you would be having. So you take that. So once it is key in, because last time when I visited, I had given my passport as my ID proof. So that is being fetched from the database automatically. Now, of course, the other thing that he will have to, that we will have to capture from the visitor, even if he is a second time or a third time visitor, is every time that he would come to the premises, we'll have to take his body temperature. So you capture that manually, and if there is some belonging, say I have come with a laptop, so you would take a note of that. Now, this is also another critical point. We also would ask that this time, even if it is second or third time, we would ask every time when he's coming to our office, or what is the mode of transport that he has chose to come down to our office, whether it was his personal transport, public transport, and so on and so forth. Reason being, God forbid, if this person is tested positive for COVID, and in a case where we have to go back and trace, then this information will be very critical to know whom all did he come in contact with, what was his mode of transport, and so on and so forth. So in the time, of course, you will have to ask the visitor to fill in all these information. From second time onwards, it is just with the use of mobile number and few information that he has to key in. And then you can capture the picture of the visitor, which will be stored into your database. And if required for a future reference, you can refer to that picture. And then you take a digital signature from the visitor. So I'm just going to sign this, and you just save it. Now I'm going to save this visitor. And as soon as I save all the detail, a self-declaration form will auto-populate, where we would ask all the is to do more with the compliance part, to ensure that the visitor, who is visiting, and of course it is for the well-being and safety of our organization as well. But compliance require that you ensure you ask these questions, and you allow the visitor to come in. So we ask them if they are having any kind of flu-like symptoms in the form of fever, cough, breathlessness, sore throat. So is a radio button. You simply choose yes or no, and you quickly pass through these. You ask whether the person who is visiting has any travel history within last 14 days, and so on and so forth. Now in India, there is a app called Arogya Setu, which the government has rolled out. So many people have downloaded this app, so we can also track how many people have downloaded and are actively using that. And if they're using it in India, when the lockdown is being lifted, the states, cities, and provinces are divided into different zones by color code: green, orange, red. So each color speaks about a certain perspective, like which area has more cases of COVID, which has moderate, and which doesn't have any case of COVID. So So if he's using an Arogya Setu app, you can click on yes, and the app would have a color code. So you can simply take that color code by which you can identify whether this person is coming from a place where there is cases of COVID, or is he coming from a green zone where there are no COVID case. So that would help. So similarly, you take down these things and then you simply submit it. So this is a self-declaration. And as soon as you do that, your visitor pass is ready to be print. Now, what you would observe here is we have captured everything into a QR code. So you simply print this visitor pass and hand it over to the visitor. So when the visitor is exiting your premise after his meeting, all you got to do is, so I'm going to show you how he's going to exit. Okay, so with this visitor pass would have QR code, some of his information, his signature, image, etc. Now, why we have put this QR code is with the intent that when he's coming to exit, he can simply choose to scan the QR code and exit. That would ensure that there is zero contact that is required. Now, you can simply use your mobile, whatever mobile device you're using. Now this app is platform independent, okay, and it is like it can run on any device, okay, be it Android, iOS, Windows. There is no limitation as such. So you can use any handheld device like a mobile phone or maybe a tablet, or even you can choose to run it on a desktop also. So you can use the camera which is available in your device, and that would act as the QR code scanner. Okay. Alternatively, if you don't want to use that, you can simply key in the mobile number of the visitor, and you can press enter, and the visitor's detail would appear on your screen. You simply select the visitor and you exit the visitor. Now, last but not the least, there is a visitor register which is available as part of this application. So what does it do is it gives you a complete flexible reporting at your disposal, which you can use to sort, filter, group by. Even you can download this information, and even you can subscribe means you can email it to someone, this information, or you can schedule these reports at a certain frequency, like you want a daily report, a fortnightly report. You can set the frequency here, and automatically the system would generate the report and send it to you in your email that you subscribe here. Now, in a traditional setup, where you have this manual register books which are maintained. Now, if you have to do any analysis basis an individual, how many times he has visited, what are the type of people who are visiting, like is it most of the people are coming for interviews, or is it the suppliers who are frequently visiting? Any kind of permutation combination of analysis that you would like to do, or even in times of COVID-19, if you have to trace somebody, in case, God forbid, if somebody is tested positive, how would you go about tracing that person if you have to, go through the pages to find that? So that will be very difficult. So here it would be very quick. You simply go and sort, and you get the information just on a click of a button. So the whole purpose is not only during COVID, but post-COVID also, you can continue to use this application as your visitor management application. So that way your investment is, future-proof. So that's how you manage the entire visitors that whosoever is coming to your premises. Now, let me quickly move on to the next interesting functionality, or the feature of the app. Now, this is employee health. Okay, now this is related to your employees. Now, again, the custodian, or where would this app reside within your organization? This again will be kept either at the reception or at the entry gate, wherever the employee will be, choosing to mark his attendance. Okay, so this will not be available on every employee's mobile. This particular function will be limited to reception. The other user of this particular function will be the volunteer. Okay, so if you're forming a team of COVID warrior or the volunteer, I'll tell you what will be their task. Their task will be to go around in the office in the designated area that you have asked them to visit, and periodically they would be taking the temperature of the employee, okay, during the day a couple of times to ensure that everybody is fit and are normal. Okay, so as you see here also on the home page, there are certain important tickers like the number of employees who have come in today. Okay, how many employees so far during the day? You can just quickly check, how many employees have been checked for their temperature during the day, by the volunteers. And you can check if there are any employees who have shown any kind of symptoms. Now, these symptoms can come from two perspectives. One is where when they report to the office, there is a self-declaration form. When I get to there, I'll show it to you, where he would say that he is having cough, or he is having fever, then he would be counted as someone who is showing symptom. The other is when the volunteer is going individually to these employees, and during the day when he is monitoring the temperature, he could also take note of any employee if he or she is showing any kind of symptom. So you will be alerted that there are employees who are showing symptom, and so on and so forth. So you can simply click from here and you can drill down into any of the information. Okay, so these are the number of employees who have come in today as per their shift. Now let me show you how do you make the entry. Now, depending on what shift the employee falls into, when he comes, okay, there is another important question that I want to address here. Now, many of you might think, do they have to fill all this information on a daily basis? Answer is no. So for the first time, when you implement this, app in your office or in your manufacturing unit, for the first time, when they come, you can ask them to, fill in their employee ID, their name, phone number, and the second time onwards, or from day 2, all they got to do is just tell the employee ID, and the rest of the information will get auto populated. Okay, so what we do here is, as soon as the employee walks in, again, either at the reception area or at the entry gate, the employee would just say his employee ID, and immediately the information will come up. Then the reception person or the security would check for his body temperature, key in. Now this has to be done individually every day when he's coming in and he's going out, right? So he takes that. Signature can be avoided. This depends on your company policy. If you want, you can do that. If you want, you can even avoid it. Okay, and then you simply save this. Now, this is what every employee has to mandatorily follow, that every day he has to tell whether, he is having any kind of cough or sore throat or any problem. He has to declare this, in a quick yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And in many organizations, we have seen that there are a certain amount of workforce who keep traveling for business. So going forward, we feel that this will be mandatory for you to keep a track of people who are having recent travel history, so that you can trace them in case of an emergency or crisis easily. So you take note of that and the rest of the information, and you simply submit that. So that's it. Again, a QR code based information would be generated. Now you can choose to take a printout of this, or if you can simply avoid it. This is just, you can just keep it in the system for record. Now, while in office, this is the form that the volunteers would be using, so the designated COVID warrior or the volunteers that you designate would go around and capture the employee ID and take the temperature and keep adding the information that they are capturing. Now during exit, again in the evening when they are going back, or at the end of their shift, in other words, all they have to do is simply give out their employee ID, and you simply exit the employee. And I think I missed out on one critical information there. So what you could do is, let me just check. Yeah, what you could also do is, before exiting, you could again take his temperature and then exit, so that it is saved with you. Of course, as I showed you in the first part of Visitor management, here too we have a complete register where you have a flexible report which can be sliced and diced, and you can drill through and you can make your own analysis, and you can create your own set of reports to find insights. So this will also be very critical and vital for you, in managing your employees' health and responding to any crisis. So this will also help, because all this, if maintained manually in a normal book or register, will be very difficult, for you to quickly respond. Because see, what we say in today's time, it is not about the survival of the fittest, but it is the survival rather of the quickest to respond to the crisis. So this is how it is going to make it very efficient for you to manage. Now, quickly onto another important aspect of sanitation. Now here, the sanitation worker, again, this app, or rather I should say this part of the application, again, you can choose to install it on a particular device and keep it in a common area, or this application can reside in the mobile of the sanitation worker himself. So when he comes here, okay, so he will see what is the task assigned to him. So he can simply choose the task, okay, and then he can go there and see what is that he is supposed to do. So there would be a complete checklist. For example, I'm a sanitation worker and I pick up a particular task. So it would have, so this checklist is something that you will build for your organization. Okay, so you will have meeting rooms, conference rooms, work areas, so on and so forth, account department, HR department, reception area. So you can create your own organizations, different work areas you can create in the system. And then what is that I need to do? So if I go to a meeting room, obviously I sanitize and I clean the door handles. There would be furniture kept there, so I can just add to the list what all I need to take care of. And once I would have done all the cleaning or sanitization work, okay, I just check here to say I have done all this, and I simply, from a drop down list, I just need to select done and forward it to supervisor, or if you want to put the name of the supervisor. That's it. So only two things that the now this is again a question whether a housekeeping person or a sanitation worker, will he be able to key in all this information into an application? They don't have to key in a lot of information. It is very user friendly. They just need to select from the drop down that they've done the work and just direct it to the supervisor. So name would be easy because they would know who their supervisor is, and simply say save. Now this much anybody today can operate on a smartphone. Okay, so that's how he would go and pick up the task from here, look at the checklist, perform that task, and then forward it to his supervisor. Now, one is the routine exercise that he has to carry out. The second is there would be complaints which is coming, that which he has to take care of. So he can simply go here and see what is the type of complaint, which department has raised the complaint. It says clean the table and floor. So what he does is he does the cleaning and then simply selects done, action taken. He can write anything he chooses to write, that done, or maybe simply say okay, which means it's been done, and then simply forward it to the supervisor and save it. That's it. On a 3-click, his work is through. So it's as simple as that. Okay, and then he can go and order for essential items. If he's running out of essential items, he simply needs to go to this particular tab and add the essential item that he wants to request. For example, he wants to order for hand towel, sanitizer, glove, face mask, whatever. He simply selects that. He just puts how many quantity of them he wants, and he simply saves it. Okay, and he forwards it to his supervisor and save it. Now the supervisor in his panel will be able to see that there is a request which has come to him, and he will be able to identify who is the user who has raised this request. So routine task, complaint resolution, essential item requisition, and in case if he has done his routine task or he has tried to resolve any of the say work, but it is not satisfactory, he can go and rework on that as well. So similarly, in inspection, as I said, inspector would be able to track all the work that was supposed to be done as a routine and how much of that has been done, and what is the essential item that has been requested. So he get to see all the list and he can simply open that and approve it. And in user panel, you will see that a user can log any kind of complaint. Okay, for example, I'm just quickly going to do one that I'm from the HR department and I want that the conference room one needs to be clean, table clean, table cleaning, just putting it that way. And I just simply save it. So the moment I save, the system will automatically generate a complaint number and you can view that here. So this is the reference number or the complaint number of the complaint I just generated. So it would stay open and it will go to the sanitization workers desk and they will have to take action on that, and then the user himself will go and see if the action is taken. He will be able to see that what was the complaint and has the action been taken or is it still open. So once the action is completed, then he can simply close it from here and save it. Last but not the least, before I jump onto the admin, I think I left out on a few more important things here. So one is logging complaint, the other is complaint closure. Then a user can or an individual can also order for essential item. Like if you have a cabin and within your cabin, if sanitizers you're running out of sanitizer or you want to order for a hand glove or a face mask, you can simply raise a request from here. The user will get to know the information of all the COVID warrior or the response, or the volunteers information, as I said, from here, his name, his email ID, mobile number, so that if need to get in touch with, they can immediately do that. They can follow the do's and don'ts from here. And of course, there would be a report panel. And in the administrative panel, this is where you would create the user, give access controls. You would be broadcasting the messages. As I said, it could be intended to everyone or to specific user. Okay. And, here you would create the list of all the essential items. Okay. That list will be seen by the user panel or by the sanitation workers. So the list you create here. Similarly, you create the various departments, areas, checklist of tasks that needs to be done, etc., all through this admin panel. So that's the feature and functionality of this app. I think it's very user intuitive and it's user friendly. Thank you once again on behalf of the entire team of ESS. Thank you for taking out time and being with us. You can choose to write us at our email ID, as you can see it on your screen, marketing@ebisframe.com, with any questions, suggestions, recommendations, or for any further information.